Hello, ni hao. Welcome to Mandarin Mama Chitchat by Mandarin Together, where two Taiwanese moms, Trista and Yaoyao, share their experiences in raising bilingual children, exploring identity, code switching, and embracing the joys and challenges of bilingual parenting. Come along with us on this exciting journey. Hi, welcome to today's episode where we're going to talk about some common stereotypes in Chinese culture. I'm super excited to dive into today's topics as I'm very passionate about cultural comfort and hope we can clarify some questions you might have regarding Chinese culture. So here we have Yao Yao, and today we have five stereotypes regarding Chinese culture or Chinese people. We want to talk about it, and I'm sure my experience and Yao's experience might be different too. So it'd be helpful to hear our perspectives. So yeah. So the first one we have: why do Chinese people study all the time? I think this is really common. Stereotype that Asians or Chinese people, they just study all the time. They basically live in the library and things like that. So does Yao Yao want to kind of start this out for us? Why do you is this true? Is that your experience, or what are your thoughts?
I think the stereotype is true because I don't study all the time. That's just me. But I remember back in the days, like in college here in Houston, you're like, you're Asian. You're supposed to be studying all the time. You're supposed to be smart, getting like all the good grades. So that stereotype definitely is real. But I don't think that's for everyone. Of course, nothing is 100%. But yeah, I do think Asian people study hard and Asian in general. Like where I'm living, I live in Houston in the suburb area, Sugar Land, Texas, and my kids' elementary school, we have about 97% Asian population in our elementary school. So that's a lot, but that includes Indian as well, Asian. So not just like all Chinese people, so Indian, different type of Asian country. And I know they study a lot. I think we talked about that in a previous episode. And I talk about this with you, Trista. I think it's the society and the culture thing. It's not easy to come to United States when you, for example, live in India or live in Taiwan, China. It costs a lot, and it's really hard for our parents to send us here. So I think there is like how do you say it? I don't know, pressure from our generation, or I mean, my parents' generation, right? Like we spend all this money, or we try so hard to send you here or move here, immigrated here, then you better study. You better get good grades, right? So it's not wasted. That's what I think.
Right. Yeah, for sure. So I guess that was the statement, right? There's some truthfulness to it. That's why the stereotype exists. Because usually stereotypes are generalizations, like general statements, like maybe a large population of that, I guess, cultural background. Anyway, there's like definitely holds truthfulness to it. So I guess with the statement, it would be helpful for us to go back to the imperial examination system, 科举制度, which was held back in ancient China. And then, but about that, and then fast forward to nowadays, how that 科举制度, the imperial examination system, how that is still impacting Chinese society nowadays. So the imperial exam was held every 3 years, and then that was the only way for social mobility. So if a person were to born into a peasant family, the only way for that person to move up, like not being a peasant for life, is through testing. If they score high enough, and they get selected into getting selected, and they can get a seat, they can earn a position in the government, and that's when they are able to move up, and for their descendants, for their children, for a better future, right? And then to some extent, that still holds true in terms of social mobility nowadays. So, in Asia, the so-called, I guess, like the promising careers in Chinese culture are lawyers and doctors. And in order to get into these two fields, it's very, really competitive because everybody, if not like at least the parents, are really hoping, wishing their kids can either become a lawyer or a doctor. I mean, obviously, there's so many other careers as well, but these two seems to be the two highly regarded careers that Asian parents seem to really hoping their children can go into. In order to enter, in order to become a lawyer or doctor, take Taiwan example because both me and Yaoyao are from Taiwan. In order to get into these two fields, you have to take the college entrance exam in Taiwan, either 学测 or 职考, and they're only held once a year. Meaning, if you don't get accepted, right? You don't score high enough score to enter these two programs, you have to wait a whole year. But you have to basically repeat your senior year, right? And then take it. And then if the following year, you still don't get accepted, depending how determined you are, you might have to take it over and over. And take my sister as an example. She actually took it 4 years, meaning when she first started college as a freshman, she was 4 years older than her peers. And it is not common for people to do that because that's the only way. So in America, you go to undergrad, right? And then after undergrad, you apply for law school, you apply for medical school, you apply for, like different other graduate programs. But in Taiwan, it's determined after high school. As an 18-year-old, if you get accepted to medical school, you are in the medical school track. And if you're not in that, unless you retake college entrance exam, you cannot do that. So I guess that makes sense. Having this understanding, it makes sense why Chinese parents or Asian parents are so focused or so, I guess, value academic achievements so much. So yeah.
Just want to add in that's so true. And I think definitely that's a society kind of pressure, also pressure from the parents. It's just the cultural norm. So the stereotype definitely hold truth to it. Since we live in the both world, both sides, so I can definitely tell the difference between, let's say, American parents or you can be like second generation, third generation who lives in the United States, and how you parent your kids. I think it's just different from when I go back to Taiwan or when I lived there. It's just there is a pressure. Oh, doctor and lawyers. It's like higher. It gives you higher status, right? You have people will respect you, so your parents will be proud of you if you become doctors or lawyer. That's what they expect of you, right? And I think, or like engineer, it just sounds more educated. So you definitely have that pressure living there. Just throw an example. My real good friend, he's my fifth grade classmate. He became an engineer after he graduated college, but he wasn't really happy. And he wasn't making what people think engineer would be making. Like I guess the salary range is real big. But now he is actually a taxi driver. He's been driving for 5 years. I can't remember, like few years now. And he's really happy. In the beginning, people would judge him like, wait a minute, engineer, now you want to become a taxi driver. So a lot of judgment and that pressure from parents and judgment from friends, and people might look at you differently. But now he said he's making way more than he's making when he was an engineer, and he's much happier. He set his own schedule. So I think we still have that culture pressure or from the parents, but I hope that will go away soon, slowly. So
Now,
people can be more open-minded on different career choices, not just a doctor, lawyer.
right. Yeah. Like being successful has really different definitions. As long as you find fulfillment and you're happy, you're satisfied, and you can make ends meet, so you're not, I guess, like starving, or you can really support yourself or your family. I think I mean, life is short, right? So yeah, hopefully that'll change over time. So now move on to the second one. Chinese people are always reserved and shy. Uh, so with the statement. So I would have to say, so people are born with different personalities, right? Some are just more outgoing, while some are really shy. In all cultures, right? Like people are just all born differently. So that statement also holds true for Chinese people too. There are some really outgoing Chinese people or Asian people. Some are really shy and just not a fan of socializing with others. But one thing to know, though, is the emphasis on modesty and humility in Chinese culture is really significant. So I remember when I was little, growing up, my parents always told me, "Stay humble. Be don't show off, don't take credits. If you are really capable, people are gonna discover you. People are gonna know. You don't need to sell yourself. You don't really have to tell people what you're capable of. Because when you do that, you come off as like showing off, bragging, and that is not a good at least for me. That was ever since I was little. That was my parents, like that's what they tell us, me and siblings as well. And in Chinese culture, it's considered to be polite and proper when you are reserved and don't take credits and you are not be overly emotional. Um, so with that as a result, the reflecting language in Chinese language too. So in there's a lot of Chinese sayings is about being modest, such as a proud person receives failure while a modest person receives benefits. 孝顺, 谦受益, or there's just one of the many sayings. So that's my experience. What about Yao Yao? Do you have something to add, or what was your
Oh
experience?
yeah, definitely. I definitely resonate with this one a lot because I think being in American culture and living in Taiwan, the Asian culture, there's a word called 谦虚. Is that modest? Being modest? 谦虚. Yeah. So, when I was little, when people compliment me, I always respond, "Oh no, 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 no!" Like, "Oh, you're pretty." "Oh no, I'm not pretty. You're pretty." Like that. And then I moved to the States, and I was so shocked when I compliment a friend or like a classmate. All they say is, "Oh, thank you." They say thank you. I'm like, what? You're not supposed to say thank you. You're supposed to like what we do in Taiwan. Like you're not supposed to accept people's compliment. So I was like, and I started learning and still learning today. Like I feel like we play small and we can't accept compliment because we just I don't know. And I still learning too. And when people compliment me, I'm like, why can't we just accept it? So I think it's just a lot of uh, just living in Taiwan, that culture is still in me. So I do feel that being modest, you're not supposed to be too loud. You're a girl. You don't not supposed to take credits. But I think here in the United States, it's actually opposite. If you did good, yes, take credit. You worked hard for it. Oh, thank you. Yeah, I worked really hard for it. I spent nights for this project, right? But I think in Taiwan or in Asian culture, oh no, 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 it's not a big deal. No, it's yeah, just not taking credit. So I resonate with this one a lot. I think there's definitely truth to it.
So I'm glad you bring up the compliments too. So I've been in the States for uh over a decade now too, and I'm still working through it. It is still really hard for me to people compliment me. I try to brush it off and I say no. And I or like no, like in denial, rejecting, or when I do say thank you, I just feel really awkward and feel like I'm not deserving of that. So I wonder, yeah, 谦虚
Yeah,
modest is a translation, but I feel like it's almost in Asian culture, we try to, like you say, play little and then downplay ourselves. It's like we don't want to make things about ourselves. And we try to, I don't know, hide away is the word, but we are just not good at acknowledging ourselves. And we always focused on our weaknesses. And for our strength, or maybe we think for our strengths, right? We don't focus on so much, and we don't even think them as our strengths. We just take them as granted, like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm good at it. Well, because it's easy, right? Not because I'm good at it, just because it's simple, it's easy, and we're lacking and try to perfecting it. So always feel like we're lesser than others. I'm not speaking up for all Asians, obviously, right? They're very confident Asians as well. They're Chinese people, which is great for them. That's what I aspire to be. I hope I can become like that. But totally just also because my parents, we were little, that's how we were taught. So it is still, I'm still working on us recognizing strengths, or feel good about myself and be more confident.
Yeah, same. I have the same goal. And I think that's why people would think, oh, Asian people is more shy and reserved, that stereotype, because we don't speak up. For instance, if it's a group setting, I usually just, let's say in a working setting, when I was working at the corporate world, and we have meetings, and I'll just be real quiet. Like, I don't want to say anything. I don't want to offend anyone. I don't want to voice my opinion. So just like real quiet, hiding in the back unless they need me, and I'll say something. Definitely is from when we were little, how we are taught, the environment, the society. And so maybe it comes out as shy, reserved, not confident. So definitely I need to work on it. Still working on it till this day.
Same. Yeah. So now, next one, we're going to switch to why do Chinese people eat animal intestines? But actually, to start though, there are also other cultures that eat animal intestines as well. But just, does Yaya want to talk a little bit about this one?
Okay, I don't know why we eat animal intestines, but I know it's definitely a norm. Yeah, we do eat a lot of intestines. My husband loves all kind of intestines. Or like 猪血糕, pig, they use pig blood, right? To make like a rice cake. That's real popular in Taiwan. I don't know the history of it, but I know this is true. This is definitely true. We love eating intestines.
Right. Yeah. And I think I'm not sure about the origin or history either, like who was the first person ever starting this. But I think one thing to I guess to know, to understand though, is Chinese people don't like wasting food. Like we just don't. So we try to make use of every single part of it. And I know I'm not sure about, I guess in America maybe the same, but like I know growing up, we were never allowed, me and my sibling, we're never allowed to have any leftovers. If that the food is in our plate, in our bowl, then we had to finish it because we don't waste any food, even a grain of rice. And then we will read poems about how hard the farmers work in the rice fields and in the agricultural society, and how every single grain of rice it came from so many people's hard work and sweats and things like that. So I think that might have something to do with the beliefs and of like everything. Like things are not easy to obtain, so we need to try to make use of every single animal part. Um, So if you go to a hot pot restaurant, like Yaya has mentioned already, right? It's really easy and common to find dog intestines or pork intestines, and yeah, it's just a part of just it's a very common part of the food, and we just eat them. We don't think much of it. And something to say though is in America, it's not common. I don't see, like at grocery stores, people have gizzards and intestine things and hearts. American people do eat that as well, but I know it's not as common as in Taiwan or in Asian culture. But something I do want to say is every culture people eat things differently, right? And it is, I just want to say it's to keep an open mind. Instead of coming up being judgmental, be curious, right? Or maybe you don't like it, maybe it's really gross to you, it's really grossing you out, and there's nothing wrong with it. But I don't think people should be judged or criticized based on what they eat. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. When you were speaking about not being wasteful, I just had a flashback when I was little, when my grandma is feeding me. I can't even have one grain of rice inside my bowl. I have to finish everything. And even till this day, and when I go back to Taiwan, I see my family, my mom, people don't like to waste food, you can't eat it, then don't. The portion even smaller in Taiwan. When you go out to a restaurant, the portion are smaller. If you eat at home, if you can't finish that big bowl of rice, you just take half, finish first, and then, if you want more, get more. That is a huge difference than American culture, though. And like when my mom comes here, she can't stand it. You guys are so wasteful. Oh my gosh. And I am guilty of it. Been living here a long time. We throw away food a lot. And something so interesting, when I was volunteering at my daughter's and my son's elementary school, oh my gosh, if this is in Taiwan, it would not be allowed. The kids, how wasteful they are. They order lunch tray, right? Sometimes they just talk, 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 talk the whole 30-minute lunch break. They don't finish everything. And what they do, I'm sorry, I'm just speaking in my school. I don't know if that's everywhere in the whole United States or what, but they just throw it away. They throw it away tons of food, just trash can. Sometimes the milk's not even open, or they'll take a one bite of it of their food. They just throw it away. But I don't know. I don't know what else they can do about it with the system, but it's quite wasteful here compared to food wise, compared to the American mentality, compared to Asian mentality on food. It really, really big difference. Just me seeing, living in both sides and seeing, experiencing both sides. Like, wow, it's definitely big, big difference.
Yeah. Hmm. So I can relate as well. When my siblings, when my mom came visited, they were mind blown of how wasteful the food is in the States. Like, if you don't finish it, you toss them. And I remember when me and my husband, when we first started dating, that was one of the things we fought a lot, because he never, not never, but he often doesn't finish his food and then he just tossed them. And it would, but it bothered me so much. It made me so angry. But for him, I guess his theory, or he says, well, the food served its purpose. I was full, so the food served its purpose, and now it has no purpose left, so I tossed it. I don't know. I guess he has his own belief, and I have my own belief. We're, I don't know, balanced out, but yes, um, it's very different in Asia in terms of like food waste, like consuming food consumption. Okay. And it kind of related to this. The next one is, so do Chinese people eat cats and dogs? I was actually asked this my first year teaching when I was in Maryland. So I'm not sure if you guys heard the statement before, but I thought we can talk about it as well. Hmm. So to start off, I would say I'm sure there's some, but maybe very few Chinese people do eat dogs uh, and cats, even to nowadays. But it's not just Chinese people. I think based on my little Google search, like Korean people or Vietnamese people used to, if not still, but used to. But this, I really don't know. People eat all sorts of things. I can't really say yes, Chinese people eat cats and dogs, or they don't, because I feel like even America, maybe in a very remote village, you maybe there's this one person did, right, or because that was the only food source they had, but not the pet, but roaming out like the wild straight, I don't know, stray dog or a wild dog. But something I want to say though is, so there are parts of China where people would cook any animals they could find for meat, starting from tradition coming from times where you had, in order to survive, when the food resources are scarce, you gotta eat, right? You're limited. And if dogs are not your pet, just they're not different. If they're not cats and dogs, they're not your pet. Not saying that you have to slaughter your pets. Oh my gosh, I have a cat. I can never imagine doing that. So, but I'm just saying. But think about it. If they are not pets, right? Maybe they're farm raised. Maybe it's systematic, right? They are really different from the pigs or chickens or cows, right? That people regularly eat. And on the other hand, some people actually do keep cat, pigs, and chicken as well. So maybe when we eat chicken, to the people they love chickens and keep them as pets, they consider us cruel, super cruel, and mind blowing. So yeah. Um, and then animals are considered. What kind of animals are considered as a food is very different from culture to culture. So, for example, Hinduism, they don't eat cows, they don't eat beef, right? And Muslims, they don't eat pork. So I think now that you have to accept this or you have to eat it, but I guess just kind of encouraging us to um, be more open minded and try to, instead of being judgmental, like, hey, how could you eat that? A different culture, they eat different kind of animals, don't eat different kind of animals. And at the end of the day, they're all animals, right? How could you judge? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know where I'm going at this, but yeah, that's all I have for the statement. Does y'all have anything to add?
Yeah, I agree with you, Trista. I think we just have to respect other people and other culture instead of like judging them. I mean, I don't eat cats and dogs. I don't know anyone that eats cats and dog in my inner circle, but that's just us, where we taught, where we grow our environment or our culture. But maybe that's not how they taught. Maybe that's how they survive. They just have to eat something, right? I went to Ecuador with my sister-in-law for her wedding. They eat guinea pig. So I didn't eat them. We ordered some, and it looked just like a guinea pig. Like they didn't like cut it in like small pieces. It's like whole guinea pig on the skewer. That's how they eat it. And my husband tried it. My mom, I think no, she didn't try it. She hold it and she took a picture of it. But my husband tried it and he said, taste that chicken. So it's just like different culture. They eat different things and we don't have to eat it. We don't have to like it, but we be curious about it. It's interesting and not, like you said, not to like to judge them so easily. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. And then the last one brings us to the last one. Do all Chinese people speak Mandarin? So, while Mandarin is the official language in China, right, and then obviously spoken by majority of Chinese people, and not just in China, like in Taiwan, we speak Mandarin too, and other Asian countries, surrounding countries of China also speak Mandarin. But actually, there are a lot of languages and dialects spoken in China. The common ones such as Cantonese, Shanghainese, Hakkanese, or like in Taiwan we call it Ming, or Taiwanese. These are just a few examples, and there's a lot of what is it, ethnic groups as well, the minorities or the um, indigenous people. They have their own languages as well. So no, not all Chinese people speak Mandarin, and not all Asians speak Mandarin. I don't know if people have a statement, but just there are so many languages in China and in Asia as well. Yeah.
And even though, for example, Taiwanese people, when we speak Mandarin and people in China, in the mainland, some words are different, which is really interesting. Trash can, or sorry, trash, 垃圾, right? In Taiwan, we'll say 垃圾, but in mainland China, they'll say 垃圾 or 马铃薯, that's potato. They will say 土豆. So it is Mandarin, but it's different, right? We say it differently. Yeah, I just want to point that out.
Right. So I was just kind of American English or like British English. There are different, the pronunciation is different, or the accent is different, and then the vocabulary is also different as well. But we could communicate just fine. Um, yeah, we could like go into China. I could communicate just fine. But sometimes when I went to Beijing, they have like heavily accented the Beijingness. I don't know, like northern accent. So sometimes I had to ask them to slow down or repeat it again, which is fine.
I think that's American English, British English, and Australian. Sometimes like, wait, that accent is different. Like, can you not speak
Right.
it so fast so I can't understand? I can get what you're saying, but it's still English, right?
Yeah, yeah. Just and sometimes vocabulary is different, but yeah.
Oh,
You're from
I wanna ask something real quick. So I don't know if this is a stereotype or misconception, or maybe it's just a culture society thing. So Trista, the word or a sentence called 一白遮三丑. You know how Asian people like to be, our skin like to be very fair and pale. That's like you have anything to say about that?
Yeah, that's like a beauty standard because I mean, we are tan, right? Asians are born tan. So you usually the grass is always greener on the other side. So that's true. 一白遮三丑 basically is like if you have fair skin, you're pale, then you are automatically considered as pretty, beautiful, right? Or yeah. So me, I'm tan. I was born tan. Like I would say even tanner than average Asians, I think. So I know growing up, I'm always teased, not in a harmful way, but I know my mom would always kind of make comments on my skin tone or whenever I go out, like in the sun, she would make sure that I bring sunblock on so I don't get any tanner. So yeah, but now like I'm in the States, I guess I'm proud of how tan I am. I don't really care much of it. But when I went back to Taiwan, people would comment, like close friends or like my family. So really not harmful way, but would comment on like, hey, how I should take care of my skin and sure it doesn't get any tanner. So yeah, that's my experience.
Yeah. So I think I did a little research in Chinese history, like back in the days. I think having a pale skin, that means it's associate you with like upper class. So I think ever since it's like a beauty standard now. You just the whiter you are, you pale you are, like you're just more beautiful. And I have the same thing. I experience the same thing when I go back. Like, oh, and my daughter, she hates it because everyone, oh, you have hair, like you're so tan. Like, what's wrong with that? But that's just, even till this day, I think that's a huge cultural differences here too. Like here in the United States, people want to get suntan, and back over there, you see all this beauty product like, oh, whitening. Everything is whitening, right? And I think sunblock is good. We need sunblock for just UV and all that. But back probably in Asia, it's different purpose. They just, you'll see people wearing hats and just try to not to get so much, not like dark and tan. And another thing is when I go back, I know it's also a culture thing, and I think it's also back in the day, it's like a traditional beauty standard in the history that if you're skinny, like this, if you're slim, that's also associated with like beauty and elegance. So I think that definitely passed down to now the culture, the beauty standard, right? You had to be really, really skinny, like a chopstick, and you had to be really white and pale. Then that's like, oh, you're beautiful.
That's a good add-on. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, yeah, and a lot of people don't, they'll ask me like, oh, why are all these Asian girls, they all like so pale and so skinny, and I'll explain that's a beauty standard. They're like so shocked. What? That's so opposite from here. Isn't it interesting? Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to add that on because I think it's really interesting and probably not a lot of people. Like if you're from Asia, like if you're Asian, maybe you know, but if you're not, like it will be a really interesting fun fact for you, right?
Yeah. So yeah, thank you, Yao Yao, for sharing that. And so these are just like several things we want to cover today, but we'd love to hear from you as well, based on experiences or maybe some questions you might have based on some questions you might still have regarding Chinese culture. Please feel free to reach out to us, and we would love to include that in our future episodes as well.
Thank you for tuning in another episode of Mandarin Mama Chitchat. We hope you enjoyed today's discussion and gained valuable insights. If you enjoyed today's episode, we kindly ask you to subscribe to our podcast and leave a review. Your support helps us to reach more people and spread awareness about the importance of raising culturally aware Mandarin-speaking kids and help them connect with their roots and foster a sense of pride in their identity. Plus, it means the world to us. Remember, you are an important part of our community. We value your feedback, suggestions, and any ideas. If
you have any topics or guest speaker recommendation, please reach out to us. We want to hear from you. Thank you again for joining us. Together, let's continue to create a vibrant and culturally rich environment for our children. Don't forget to check out our show notes for the link to download our freebie. Bye!